Thank you for tuning in to Miss Gossip TV Reality Drama Queen, where I wanted to chime in on Mr. Derrick Jackson. Everyone has heard about Mr. Derrick Jackson and his behavior. He is a married man. He is on YouTube. He talks about love and marriage, and he gives his opinion by doing videos and speaking his opinion on the videos that he just watched, basically on relationships. Now, most of us did not know that he was a married man, but yes, he is a married man, and he has got caught up in some scandals, allegedly in regards to other women. One of them is a doctor, and she recently was online speaking about the matter between the two of them. But here is some visuals and some audio of Mr. Derrick Jackson speaking in regards to what has happened with his wife, and his wife is going to speak towards the end of this video in regards to how she feels in regards to this situation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye. Please like and subscribe. Bye.
What's going on, guys? Derrick Jackson here, and today I am joined by my lovely wife, Danae, and we just wanted to address a couple of things. You know, we understand that some of you may have already heard, maybe not, that this chapter of our marriage is one that was preceded by a marriage that I completely failed. And I would say it just started around August, maybe September of last year. But, you know, a lot has been said already about what was the cause and all that other stuff. Some of it is true, some of it is completely false. But the truth is, and I'm saying it here now, is that Derrick Jackson was involved with other women outside the marriage. And by involved, I want to be clear, I'm not talking about just casually kicking it, maybe a lunch or something like that. I'm talking about as serious as sex, to sexual flirtation and meeting up and that kind of thing. And some things that otherwise may be considered okay by some in terms of like just chatting or checking on people or being checked on by people that I've had a previous encounter with. But without my wife's knowledge of it and with us having a sexual history, all of it falls under the umbrella of inappropriate, cheating, affair, stepping out. Definitely not in alignment with the vows that I took. And definitely not in alignment with the biblical standard of what it means to be faithful, which is the standard that I'm going by now. Now, I'm saying this publicly, not because I'm, married to you guys. First and foremost, I'm accountable to God. Then I have to be accountable to my wife, in which we've already had this conversation. I've already told her literally everything. I've given her basically a roll call list. If I've said hello to a woman in the last 12 years of me knowing her, she knows about it. But now that it's been made so public, it's important that I first off let you guys know I do not stand by those actions. I don't want to encourage anybody to do that. And then secondly, I know that I cannot build a platform preaching certain things, preaching against certain things, and then in my real life live contrary to that for any amount of time or any length of time to any extent, and think that I can't be held accountable. The same way that I preach, men and women in this situation need to face consequences of their actions, deserve to be held accountable. Guess what? Derrick Jackson's no exemption. He's not exempt from that. I'm also not a victim. Nobody made me do this. She didn't make me or push me to do it. The next person didn't make me. No friend influenced me. It don't matter how I was raised and what trauma or whatever. Look, I made decisions. I made a series of decisions that I got to account for. There's no excuse or justification. I've already made that bed and have had to lie in it. And now we're finally getting on to the other side personally in our own healing and our own marital oneness. And now this is being made public to you guys, so we're bringing that forth to you guys to let you know where we're at with that. But did you want to say anything?
Yes, so I do want to just add that I agree with what he just said. There is no justification for bringing other women into our marriage on any level, and it was unacceptable, and it's not something that I tolerate or that we tolerate moving forward. And when I've been flooded again with messages and these things and about, I need to leave or why haven't I left? And the answer is, when I found out about it, I left. I did not hesitate or waste time to do so. And I stayed gone. No matter how many times he came, I stayed gone and stood firm on, I am not coming back. And I did not come back until I seen a shift and a change in his mentality and how he carried himself and how he presented himself and conversations that we were able to have that we had never been able to have in just 12 years of knowing each other. And when we were able to have these dialogues, I said, okay, Lord, this is something that you've had your hand on. And this was with me being completely removed from his life. And him pursuing God, continuing to pursue God, and continuing to eliminate these things that led up to the catastrophe that you guys are seeing for the first time. So there's nothing out there right now that is information that I don't already know about or haven't known about. And so this is not something that is new. We have moved forward from it. We have gotten counsel for it and continue to do so. He is still continuing to pursue God and continuing to seek guidance and wise counsel from men of God. And that is what I needed for the continuation of me being present in this marriage and to stand by his side. So today, where I'm at is at peace, and I proudly stand by his side, and I have no hesitation, I have no hurt, no shame about that. And it's only because of the grace of God and the mercy of God. And we have already turned a new chapter in this story. We are continuing to move forward, and we are just now sharing that with you all. And I forgave him, and most importantly, God has first forgiven him, and I also forgive the others as well. And with that, we are free and moving forward. So that's all I have.
Yeah. And I get it. Some of y'all, like, this may come as a huge shock, probably a huge disappointment. I let a lot of you down. If you've had a perspective shift on who Derrick is, hopefully it's away from anything remotely close to perfection, and it is simply that, I am a human, and that does not justify anything that I did. But I don't want anybody out there to be putting me on a pedestal. If you did, and I hate that you did that, maybe I gave you cause for that, and I apologize if I did. For those who are saying, Derrick, I don't want to ever listen to you again, it's totally understandable. I appreciate you while I had your support and helping me get the message out about healing and healthy relationships to so many people who needed it, myself included. And for those who are going to continue to support, man, I appreciate you like never before, because I know it's not going to be easy going forward, at least for a little.
Okay, so you heard their conversation speaking on the matter with his infidelity. It is quite a bit. So it sounds like she left him before, but she came back when she seen changes in him. But it really doesn't look like he really made that change of not cheating, allegedly. But here is an update on Derrick Jackson's wife just a few days ago, speaking about this matter again.
Hey world, this is DERRICKJAXN here, here to answer a question. I keep on getting this question. Why now did Derrick beat you and drag you to save him? Well, first let me say that only Jesus Christ can save Derrick. Okay, only Jesus can save him. He has already done that, and now Derrick is laying in the bed that he made with the actions that he took. And the only person that saved him from that and can save him from it is Jesus Christ. I can't do anything, say anything to do that. His actions were his actions, and unfortunately other people decided that they wanted to take whatever they wanted to do and run with that. But no weapons formed against us shall prosper on that piece. Why am I speaking now? I've come to confront the issue that says you cannot be healed, that it takes this amount of time for you to be healed, that you have to be depressed, have anxiety, hide your face, once a cheater, always a cheater, you are this and we are this and we are that. You can never overcome this situation. There's always someone better. Well, those are lies from the pit of hell. But it's because what we don't understand is that there is a spiritual war going on. So though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. So when we understand it and we understand the things that are behind the action and the behavior, then we know that, hey, there is a spiritual battle that is going on, and I've come to confront and to reveal the plot and the scheme of the enemy that says you cannot have this, you cannot be healed, you cannot be set free, you have to stay in bondage, you have to leave, you have to divorce X, Y, Z, and the third because of this thing. Well, you do not have to do those things. Just because something is dead does not mean it cannot be resurrected by the blood of Jesus Christ, by the resurrection power of Jesus Christ. And that is what he did in our situation. So I've come to testify. I've come to be a witness to you. I've come to set you free. I've come to share the pain and to testify. I know the pain that comes from certain aspects of this type of situation, but that does not define who you are. You don't have to stay in bondage to that. You don't have to stay with bitter roots that says, forget this person, forget marriage, forget all of these things, because those are roots of bitterness and anger, and that requires deliverance. So I've come to be a witness as my Lord and Savior has commanded me to be. Second to that, I never had a desire to come and speak to the public in this capacity, and being attached to someone who is a great public figure, a great orator who presents himself well, can be a lot to deal with, especially with coming to the world who says you have to look a certain way, you have to sit up proper a certain way, you have to articulate yourself a certain way, you have to wear your hair a certain way, you have to do all of these things, which I'm not. I don't meet up to that. I don't care about these things that says, oh, I have to do all these things, I have to wear a certain thing, I have to have the right lighting and all these things. That is not my ministry. Okay, I'm going to be who the Lord has told me to be. He's told me I am his daughter, I am his warrior. He told me, DERRICKJAXN, arise and testify and speak and spread the word of.
Okay, so that was Mr. Jackson's wife speaking. She's a very God-fearing woman, a Christian woman, and most Christians really do try to work things out, leave it in God's hands and such. But she's a broken woman. Bottom line, she's a broken woman to me. But I hope that she does get healing, and I wish the best for the couple. But Mr. Jackson, if you're going to continue to carry on like a single man, let your wife go and be a single man, because it's looking like you are a liar in these streets while you're out here trying to promote yourself in your book. I'm not too sure, Mr. Jackson. So here is some audio of the way Mr. Jackson's, how his frame of mind is, and a little bit of his work and what he does.
How do you know whenever he's being for real? So I'm gonna tell you some signs, but first let me be very honest with you. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. Like, it's a bad thing whenever it's obsessive, it's controlling, it's a part of his insecurities, he has nothing going on in his life, so yeah, you're on his mind. But there are 7 signs and how to know whenever you're genuinely on a man's mind in a good way, in a way that's going to translate into value into the relationship. The first way to know that you're genuinely on that man's mind in a good way is whenever he's constantly looking for ways to make your life a little easier, not carry you through life and things like that. I'm just talking about as a man, when we're in touch with our masculine nature, in the correct proportion that we're supposed to be, we're problem solvers, we're resolution finders. We cannot just hear about something not going as well as it needs to go, especially for somebody that we care about, and not try to insert ourselves in a valuable way. So you may be stressed out, you may be overwhelmed. A man that genuinely has you on his mind is going to maybe get you a daily planner or a journal or something that, just allow himself himself to be that place that you can vent and lean on. You know, on a regular basis, without you having to ask him, he's going to try and be a problem solver in your life. Now, of course, you have every right to say, hey, I don't need you to come and save me. I'm my own hero. But I'm just saying, as far as his efforts, that's what you'll see evidence of. The second sign that you are on a man's mind pretty regularly is whenever he tells you to let him know whenever you've made it home safely after, say, you guys were hanging out or a date, and it wasn't rhetorical. You know, the 30 minutes, supposed to be a 30-minute drive, 45 minutes, an hour later, he's texting, he's calling. That's not a man who's psychopathic. That's a man who has your safety as a top priority. That's a man who's actually thinking about you, because a lot of guys and some women will say that kind of thing and really be asleep 10 minutes later. When a man is genuinely thinking about you in a good way, he needs to know that you're okay. He needs to know that you're safe, especially late at night in situations where there could be some risk, all right? The third way to know that a guy genuinely has you on his mind is whenever he's making stops for himself, errands for himself, there's some evidence that he thought about you. Like, he'll come home with something for you. And I'm talking about, like, okay, he goes to Home Depot, he was going for a buzz saw or something like that, but he remembered that you liked the M&Ms with the peanuts in them when he was at the checkout. So he comes back and he got some M&Ms for you, and he didn't even think nothing of it. That's because you're so integrated into his mind. Like, it's not a chore for him. It's not something that you have to ask for. He's not waiting for you to ask. Like, you're not a last priority or an afterthought. You're just a part of how he looks at the world. I know that sounds kind of dreamy and kind of weird, but it's true. And there's so many guys who this is just business as usual for them. That's how you know whenever a guy really thinks about you as well. The fourth sign is whenever he brings you into his interest throughout the day. Right? So memes that he finds interesting, movies that he might want to watch, books that he might want to read, something that happens whenever he's out at the grocery store. You know, he may send you a picture or record it or something like that. You know, that kind of man is thinking about you, but don't necessarily expect 24/7 access, because if a man has anything going on about himself, he's not going to be able to talk to you that often. I'm talking about literally throughout the day, and hopefully you ain't got your whole life revolving around him either. But I'm saying at least once or twice a day, you know, a couple of days out the week, you'll notice that he brings you in. That's because a man who genuinely is thinking about you and has you on his mind, as he's experiencing life, again, this is not something he has to force. He wants to experience it with you. In today's age, that's going to happen a lot of times through technology, okay? So the fifth sign that a man genuinely has you on his mind on a regular basis in a good way is whenever he creates space in his schedule in advance, even if you have nothing planned. Now, we've talked in the past about, you know, spare time versus made time, and I would just want to say this. Always honor whenever a man gives you his time and he makes that time in his schedule, because that's a sacrifice, and there's no more valuable resource to anybody other than time. But I'm talking about even the next level. You know, on Friday or Saturday, there was nothing planned, but he blocked off a certain time just in case you would be back in town in enough time to see him. Nothing planned yet. No comedy thing coming up, no movie coming up, no restaurant he got booked. But just to make sure that there will be some opportunity for you two to spend time, he creates and he protects that time in advance. That's a man who has you on his mind on the regular. The sixth one is kind of similar. You know, weeks in advance. A man who thinks about you weeks in advance, months in advance, he's preparing for those big dates. I'm not talking about he just remembered your birthday, remembered the anniversary, remembered the holiday. But, you know, he saved up for that trip to go and see your family across the country weeks, months in advance. You got a surgery coming up. He already done requested time off from his job to make sure he could be there with you as you heal. That's when a man is thinking about you. The seventh way that you know, and I see this mostly in marriage, but the seventh sign that a man has you on his mind on the regular is whenever something may come in and obstruct what you guys normally do, coming into your flow, you know, of how you guys normally operate and spend time with each other. He checks with you first before he confirms whatever that obligation may be. What I mean is, let's say on Saturdays you guys do brunch, but his homies want to hoop this Saturday, out of the blue, right? Before he says, all right, bet, it's a go, he's coming to you and he's saying, okay, my homies want to hoop or whatever. How does that work with your schedule that we do this thing that we normally do another time? Don't get that confused with you got a man who don't want to live his life, or he's got to check in to get permission from you to live his life or anything like that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is when a man really values the time, when a man is really thinking of you and the time that he's going to spend with you, he's going to make sure that he protects that. He's going to protect that. You're not going to constantly get put on the back burner, you know, whatever happens with her is whatever happens with her. She's the variable, but my homies is the constant. My mama is the constant. My job is the constant. The only thing that's going to be a constant above you for a man who genuinely cares about you is God. That's it. If you're hearing me say any of these things and you're thinking to yourself, there's no man on earth who exists like that, that's a unicorn, this is unrealistic, maybe you even got some resentment that's kind of starting to stir up for me, just at hearing this, let me just say that may be evidence that you need healing. And I'm not trying to invalidate you, these very real examples. I'm talking about, these are examples of dudes that I know personally, outside of me, take me out of it. Guys that I know personally, this is just how they show up. This ain't nothing to them. You know what I'm saying? So if you're looking at any of these things and saying, well, that never happens to anybody, that only happens in movies, that's evidence. That's one of the indicators that you may need healing, because pain has changed you and now it's trying to protect you from ever having that hope. That hope in a man that could treat you like this as a priority and be this thoughtful. The hope that somebody took from you by treating you so opposite to this seems like a fairy tale or something like that. But the good news is there's a way to reverse that. There's a way to fix that, and you need to. Why do you need to? Because there's going to be a man, if this is what you genuinely want, is a man who has these types that. In fact, you may self-sabotage. That's what happens whenever you don't heal. You self-sabotage. And what I talk about in my book, Heal Together Without Hurting Each Other, women in this position, they may get a man who's the equivalent of, say, filet mignon. But whenever they bite into his love, what they get from that is like sardines out the can. They're not able to truly experience it, appreciate it, or even reciprocate it. So sometimes they end up losing a man. A man gets burnt out. A man gets discouraged. Long story short, because I don't want to go too far in depth, I actually talk about it in great detail in my book, Heal Together Without Hurting Each Other. So if you want to get that and get the roadmap so many women have taken to come from that to the absolute most healed version of themselves, click the link down in the caption, or wherever you see it, maybe in the bio. But the moral of the story is this. It's nice when a man loves you in terms of his feelings that he has for you and his emotions, and you're in his heart and he expresses it. But we all know actions speak louder than words, but I always say patterns speak the truth. So when a man has a thought pattern that is so ingrained in you, like on the regular, what's going to happen is he's also going to have a pattern of how he lives that expresses his love through his actions on the regular. So that you don't end up another woman who's saying, hey, my man says that he loves me, but I don't see no evidence, I don't see no proof. When a man has you on his mind on the regular, the proof will be obvious that he loves you. So those are just my thoughts. So y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Again.
All right, that's Mr. Jackson.